you find a real estate platform that aligns everyone in the entire company financially by making us real estate agents owners, so when the average agent wins, everyone wins, that's the secret to success. And when you surround yourself with like-minded entrepreneurial people who absolutely love what they do, they love serving people, they love God and life, and you put yourself in an environment of high energy, high producing, positive people every day, you can't help but succeed in business and life. We are changing the real estate industry and changing real estate agents' lives. Welcome to the Financial Freedom Forever podcast.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Financial Freedom Forever podcast. You guys are in for a treat today. For the first time, we're having Barry Pulver from Davidson, North Carolina on our podcast today. How you doing, Barry?
I'm well. I was just admiring that intro. What a phenomenal visual intro for a podcast. I love it. But I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Looking forward to getting to know you. This is our first time really getting together, but another influencer here at EXP, and looking forward to kind of hearing your story. But for all of our listeners out there, Barry has joined EXP about 5 years ago, but he was the first agent here in the U.S. to take EXP international when we expanded to the U.K. So that's a big deal. And now he's expanded to 15 other countries and has almost 600 people in his organization around 15 countries. So we're looking forward to kind of hearing your background, Barry, and what you're doing and just get to know you better. So welcome.
Well, thank you. Genuine pleasure. I'm excited to speak with you here, and I'm excited to get together over a coffee or other beverage in Vegas at EXPCon shortly too.
Yeah, definitely. We're looking forward for EXPCon here in a couple of weeks for sure. So let's jump right in, Barry. Tell us a little bit about your story. Let our guests, or not all our guys and girls that are listening to our podcast every week. What's Barry all about?
Family, and I guess real estate secondarily. You know, it's interesting. I moved to America, so I may not have that North Carolinian accent you or your listeners are used to, but I moved to America in 2010 for reasons that were absolutely not the reason I stayed. I moved for a lady. Retrospectively, didn't go well. It was a terrible decision, but thankfully, as I say, I found my faith, family, career, and the rest is history. So I got into real estate 2015, maybe 2016. And I turned 39 yesterday, so you can see my memory's fading as time goes on. So I moved here as a 25-year-old and got into real estate. And, it was about 5 years ago in the summer, I joined EXP, just honestly to learn support and opportunities are one thing, but I wanted to build my brand better. I wasn't I never recruited or grown, wasn't a team leader. I was a solo agent. Okay. Wanted to figure out myself, a brand, and then something happened, and the rest is kind of history as we speak right here, right now.
Well, that's awesome. So, what did you when you first got into real estate? What company were you with, and kind of how did things go in the first few years?
It's the age-old story, I guess. The largest training company in the world. As my wife and I were buying what's now our home, and we have a rental, but as we were buying that home, it was the top agent in this market. It was a really good person too. She was our buyer agent with Keller Williams. And as I was going through the process at that time, I knew her, I knew of Keller Williams. So that was the route, because isn't that what everybody in real estate does in 2015, 16? Right. So joined with Keller Williams. And that was, again, you only know what you know. You get your licensing, you get your education, you realize that not much of it is applicable to having a successful career. It opened up doors. And you know what was funny? One of the reasons I did join Keller Williams, actually, and this was something I call it divine intervention. I was never planning on any of this revenue share international business, but right. They were just launching in the UK. And I'm from the UK. I was born in London. They were just launching. So I thought, well, hey, it's a big company. I know they do a lot of training, and it was the company in this area, and one thing may lead to another. So Keller Williams was the obvious choice for the 2015, 2016 me. Things are very different retrospectively, though, aren't they?
Yes. Things sounds like a lot of things have changed. So what happened? What happened next? Why did you look at EXP? Were you unhappy? Were you just saw a bigger opportunity? Kind of walk us through that.
Absolutely. So after Keller Williams, I came to a point of, do I go commercial? Do I go luxury? And again, I'm in Davidson, North Carolina. I love it. But when we talk of luxury, it's not like selling the OC or selling Sunset. So I decided to go to the luxury option. It was a boutique firm here in North Carolina, about an hour away in a different market, who I spoke to the owner, who is, I would say now, still the best personal branding marketer. Now it's his company, but it's still all about him. So I joined that company in luxury, opened up an office, 104 steps, not that I was counting, from my house, a physical office. And it was good. You know, it's North Carolina luxury pre-COVID. So the prices have expedited insanely since then. But I was there. Who doesn't want to see these seven? We didn't have 8-figure homes at that point, but looking at all the nice homes, selling them and doing well. We had our official opening of the doors a year or two after we were open. I brought along a personal friend of mine who was with a company called EXP because we had a mutual connection. And that just sparked off a conversation. This is a funny story. Not many people publicly know this because, again, I was just an agent. I was a good agent. I wasn't the best. I definitely wasn't the worst. But I saw something again that was about licensing coming into the UK market of a state agency. Different world. We speak similar languages, but it's very different. Right. There's no licensing, no buyer agency, you know, commissions at 1%. So it's a different world. But I saw this and I'm like, hey, Rich, this may be of interest for you. We sat down over a coffee randomly. I wasn't looking at leaving. And he said, how are you doing? And then we literally just compared the model. And I compared what I would get in terms of the support in addition to the numbers. Wasn't actively looking, but it was, I hate this terminology, it's so overused, but it was honestly a no-brainer. I had a young kid at the time. It was a no-brainer. And I made the move and I'm not making another one.
There you go. So you've been a solo agent all along with KW and in that other luxury market. About how many houses were you selling at each company?
I would say I was about a capping agent. So volume wise, at max, probably 6 to 10 is a bit generous, probably 6 to 9. Okay. So I wasn't blowing things out of the water. At the luxury company, there wasn't a cap. So it was just going to perpetually go on forever. So I would say I was in the nowhere near the top, but I was probably in the middle to upper kind of criteria.
Okay. All right, great. And so you must be excited about the EXP luxury brand that we have now.
Yeah, so Amy Weaver is a good friend of mine who's kind of one of those heading it up on the corporate side, you know, again, through, I call it divine intervention again, but one of the premier French luxury real estate companies is part of what we do in the French Riviera. And they were made for this. I know things haven't launched on the international side yet, but yeah, you know, I think for us, and you've been here long enough as well, I think it's just the next evolution of EXP and the brand, which we're going into. I'm excited for everybody here within the company.
Now, being at that other company that's all about luxury, like you said, they had some really great branding and such. Obviously, you saw the numbers. You said when you looked at numbers, it was a no-brainer. A lot of people, when they look at EXP, they're thinking, oh, well, you know, they're not the big name luxury brand. How do you compete with that? Now you're over here. How's that helping you with your luxury business now?
So me, in transparency, I kind of don't really sell any homes anymore. What I do is help my guys locally. So the local business I brought in, I kind of, now there are, and you know, sometimes it is very difficult to, which is a great thing, to remove the connection you have between you and a client or a friend. So sometimes I do have to take it on, but most of my business I do give to my local partners. However, from a branding and marketing perspective, it is very much foot on the throttle. So for me, I think there's always two things. You know, someone's always running away from something or running towards something. But for me, the lack of branding, if you will, or the lack of knowledge of a luxury element of EXP is absolutely the opportunity. You know, and you know this better than anybody as you're super successful high level. People are buying and selling homes because of you, who you are, not because of where you are. So for me, I see the opportunity with that more than the challenge of that. Bear in mind, when we launched into the UK, the first ever international expansion, self-employment is not really a thing in real estate or a state agency in the UK. So I love obstacles. I love hurdles. I see the opportunity in them. It's not for everybody, but for the right people to be able to spearhead a whole luxury division in your market. What a great opportunity. I'm sure you would bite people's hands off for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us about, what it was like to open up, a brand new country in the UK, being the first to kind of get that started. And then after that, share with us about how you've been able to open up, 15 other countries, or have or people in your organization in all these different countries. I'm impressed. I'm in 4 countries, I think, mostly in the US and in Canada, but that's impressive.
Well, listen, yes and no. I mean, thank you for your kind words. I think if anybody here at EXP is looking to grow, your way is the way to do it. Bear in mind, and I know you can relate to this, before the My EXP platform, I believe it took me 18 months for any of my international business to actually resonate in any financial gain for me. So blind optimism and hope and faith maybe isn't the smartest way to go, but it is very different now. We've got Michael and Megan and the global team, who I do speak
Yeah.
with a lot, because it is quite the infrastructure, and we're doing some really cool things at EXPCon. So please come and look at the schedule. But again, when I was a new agent, I would do anything I could not to pick up my phone. If I could literally send an email so I didn't have to maybe speak to somebody, I would do it. And then I just got this idea at EXP. Again, no recruiting, no leadership experience, in honesty, of doing some research and looking in a territory of the UK and seeing who, if EXP had said publicly they wanted to go international, but there was nothing there. So the story goes, if you were here at the time, it was EXPCon in New Orleans. My business couldn't really afford to go, but I just joined EXP, and I went there with one premise and one premise only. I did the terrible idea, stayed at a hotel miles away because it was much cheaper. I just needed to get there. And I remember my friend and my sponsor, business partner, whatever verbiage we want to use, said, hey, just go and speak to the guy. So I went. The New Orleans jazz band was playing in the background, amazing music. I went and spoke to Mr. Jason Gessing, said, hi, my name's Barry Pulver. I'm part of this Charlotte, North Carolina thing. Just going to let you know, I'm going to be the one who's going to take us international to the UK. And I'm sure he's like, either he didn't hear me because the music was so big, or was like, who is this guy? Long and short, I got onto LinkedIn, which I've been onto for a long time. I think LinkedIn's the most underutilized and best social media platform out there. Did my research and found a guy called Adam Day. His tagline, his research, this guy was made for everything that EXP was going to do, but he started his career in 1997, so he was ahead of his time. I sent one message, which opened up a conversation. As you can imagine, you know how these processes go. Many, many, many conversations with leadership and everything later, and the rest is history. So I backed myself to do something I wouldn't normally do. I don't want to say I'd be intimidated by him, but if we're comparing where we are on a real estate and a state agency level, there's no comparison. But I sent a cold message that resonated with the right person at the right time. Rest is history.
That's amazing. So it all just started out opening up a whole other country, and just by a conversation on LinkedIn. That's pretty cool. I know there's a lot of conversations and a lot of things in between all that for sure. But kudos to you to reach out, and how has it changed your life, and how has it changed the gentleman in the UK that you connected?
It's always about the money till you make the money. It's not about the money. So I think that's probably the best way to put it. But for me, like personally, so I have a 6.5-year-old son and almost 3-year-old daughter as we record this live. When I was a new agent with him, I was still on the newer side trying to establish business. It was any call, I was taking it. Any lead, anything, how anybody who's listening and watching this can relate. As a new real estate agent trying to grow their business, you do what you have to do. And it was tough. Like the money wasn't necessarily coming in and I wasn't necessarily present. Fast forward to December 2020, I guess one of the COVID babies, if you will, when our daughter was born, I took the whole month of December off. And to say I am present, and we all have our moments, right? We're all connected to bloody something all the time. But it's been that for me is the best way I can say. I am now, I leave work at 2 or 3 o'clock to pick my daughter or my son up. My wife, who owns her own successful business, not in real estate, we rotate. Summers are just full on family. So I really feel that's the best way. And from a practicality standpoint, I love real estate. I think it's the best industry in the world. But I don't have to be, and I'm not there doing the open houses, selling homes, just because I feel my time, my energy, and what I can provide others is to help my local agents, my international agents do the same thing to fund the business and start the business that they want to do. So I think it's completely transformed, and I don't have the biggest organization in the world. just shy of about 600 agents, but we do over $1 billion worth of sales a year because the guys in the UK are beasts and they sell more homes than we ever could over here. It's just the nature of the industry. So it has drastically changed a lot. And I am particularly blessed and thankful for that every day.
That's awesome. I'm excited to follow your career moving forward. Now we're getting to know each other. I'm excited to see what other countries that you help open. Tell us, opening up all these other countries, the other countries that you're in, was it some of the similar that you reached out cold to people on LinkedIn, or was it a lot of your people in the UK reached out to friends they had in these other countries? And
that's a good question. That's a really good question. I mean, so much of my growth is in Europe, but me personally, I think from a direct sponsorship standpoint, had got to a point of level ones in about 8 different countries. That's a little different now. And again, I don't think that's a bad thing. This model isn't meant for everybody, and it is difficult. You know, how you were saying about EXP Luxury here, we knew, and it's going to be hard to compete with the bigger companies, you know, in a brand new country, or in a newer country, a newer territory, a newer market, it has its challenges, and that's okay. I think we've got to support the right people at the right time. If it's not for everybody, that's okay. So it's been a lot, you know, for me now, obviously so much in the UK. I mean, Adam and what he created over there pre the global team and infrastructure is mind-blowing. And then Emily, who's the head of Australia, who's a personal, really good friend of mine. You'll be meeting her in Vegas too. We got a lot going on in Australia. You add on a lot of the European agent growth been tremendous there. So it's really a different combination. For me, I speak English and I speak the Queen or the King's English better than I speak American English. So I guess in part it's hard, but I'm just thinking of some circumstances now from me. Yeah, LinkedIn has been my go-to. You know, and at this point, and you see this as well, Andrea, is your success level. You get other people who are in the industry or maybe who even aren't in the industry. Hey, you need to speak to so-and-so. They're in whatever location, they're in real estate, they need some help. So it's almost like my real estate business. It's almost like getting referrals of agents in either brand new countries or here locally. So it's a bit of a mixture, but I do believe, as you know this, there is a fine balance between the passive marketing approach, right, of sending the flyers, and the direct approach. So for me, it is still, well, now it's post-summer, the kids are in some element of education. It is foot on the accelerator. For me, LinkedIn is the #1 platform, a little bit of other social media, but almost like my sales business, I don't know if it's new contacts as much as it is follow-up. For me, and I'm sure you'd say the same, follow-up is everything in this industry, in sales, in growth. So it's just back on into consistent, specific, strategic follow-up.
Yeah, the money's in the follow-up. We've always said that. If it's FSBOs expired, I mean, it doesn't matter what you're doing in real estate. The money's always in the follow-up for sure.
Yes, sir.
That's one thing I was pretty good at, being consistent. I remember following a lead for, I don't know, 4 years. But, you know, just call him once every 3 or 4 months because I knew it was going to turn into something, and ended up, you know, not just selling his house, but his mother's house and his uncle's house. And, you know, it just dominoes.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, either as a team leader, as a recruiter, as a sales professional, whatever it is. That the concept, I think we think they're very different, because I honestly think it's probably easier to sell a salesperson than it is, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Jones in their residential home on Main Street. But the concept, I think there's so many parallels between growth of an organization and sales that we overlook it, and we probably overcomplicate it, because as humans, that's what we do.
Right. Well, I've been an agent since I was 22 years old. And so it's been like 32 years, showing my age, but, you know, I was a solo agent, then a team leader, independent broker owner with my partner. Then I was a coach for 9 years. And I really enjoy helping, like you, I'm helping my team grow. You know, I was in production, you know, we were selling like 300 units a year with our small teams in New York, and enjoyed that. But I really enjoy helping other real estate agents reach their goals. You know, if it's from getting from 10 to 20 or from 50 to 100, you know, we all, depending on what level that you're at, there's always another level, right?
There is. Well, let me ask you a question on that, because I think it really transitions perfectly. So be it from coach to owner to team leader to independent agent, what do you feel? Is there a big difference between all of them? Or do you think the psychology and the action steps that one can take in any of those lanes are actually more similar than we think?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's really is much similar than we think. Like I said, it's all about the follow up, right? If you're going after, for sale by owners, or you're looking to build in a team and you're trying to attract agents to your local team, if it's trying to get from 50 deals to 100, it's always about the follow up and being consistent and always doing the right thing, right? Even if it's not your best interest, if every decision you make is in your buyer or seller's best interest, or in your real estate partner's best interest, you're never going to go wrong, right? And that's kind of the mindset that we have, and just being consistent, doing the little daily things every day. If it's making your lead calls to your database of buyers and sellers, or if it's making your lead calls to real estate agents that to build a team, it's all about the consistency of doing those little things daily. And when you look back at the end of a quarter, end of a year, you've normally made some pretty great strides and usually hit your goal.
But also doing it with authenticity. Don't look to get a listing if it's not the kind of listing you genuinely want to be selling. Don't recruit someone just for the sake of having a body. Be authentic, set the right expectation, and do it consistently. I think if you can take exactly what you're saying with those added two things in life, in business, you'll be successful.
Yeah, it makes life and business fun, right? When you attract the kind of clients that you want to work with, or attract the kind of business partners that you want to work with, you're having fun, and you're helping helping change people's lives, making them better, and you can't go wrong. So that's really good advice as well.
Yeah, well, I'm with you. And I was going to say, you interview a lot of very successful people. Is there one typical takeaway that you get, one overriding theme that most people will allude to, at least that sounds the same piece of advice they give others?
Well, I'm always giving out the same advice of being consistent. That's a great question. I think what you mentioned just earlier is always, taking the high road, always trying to, do the right thing, and look after your clients or your friends' best interest is kind of a common theme. The people that are only looking for that sale, they'll do and say anything to get that next deal, or they'll pull the rug underneath their coworker because they need the cash or whatever it might be. Those people just, what goes around comes around, and they don't stay in business very long, because all the real estate agents that I know that have been doing this 20, 30 years, you don't make it in this business 20, 30 years, at least successfully making a great income for your family, unless you get a lot of referrals. And you don't get a lot of referrals if you don't, keep your clients and your partners at the top of the list.
Well said. Very well said. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, awesome. So what do you see yourself, in the next, 3 to 5 years, or what are some of your goals? What are you looking to accomplish? And where do you see yourself in the future?
Good question. I don't have one anymore, but I had a recruiting coach who was a friend of mine at that old training company. Something I got given at Keller Williams was I forget what it's called. The 411. Right. And I never did it, never saw the value. And now I've just started doing it. I have my 5-year goals on there, but they are so big. Sometimes I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't say them. I'm going to fall behind this year of what I wanted to do and where I wanted to be. So it is now very much catch up, reanalyze, because I think you alluded to it before, the ability to also analyze and look at where you are in your business and kind of maybe restructure, rethink, and move forward. So for me, it's very much helping all of my existing partners. What Adam has done, and all the guys in the UK, within 3-4 years to become one of the top 10 estate agencies, real estate companies in that period of time when it was started in COVID, is unbelievable. And that ship is just going to sail forward with tremendous leadership and move forward. Some of the other countries I'm looking to get maybe more involved in and just kind of help see if there's anything behind the scenes corporately, that I can just kind of do to assist, not without being corporate at all. I prefer what you and I have here, the independent, we being we. So I really feel it's just sharing a message, sharing my own personal story a little more, but more so figuring out what I can do to help others achieve their goals, right? I think you and I are very similarly aligned in that. Now, you have a vast amount of experience more than I do. So in part, I never want to speak from experience. I can only speak or ignorance. I can only speak from my own experience. So it's, I've got some conversations in some of the most intriguing countries that I've not been to, and that wouldn't even learn the language in. So it's it's a fine balance between the two. I just want to see this industry thrive. I know, and I speak from as deep down as I can go, that EXP is the way for every successful real estate agent in this world. We just have to figure out the best way that we can share this message with the right people at the right time. So I think my 5-year goal was to have 2,000 agents in Australia, 10,000 agents through my revenue share organization overall, which will probably happen. But I just want to see what I can do as one human being with 24 hours in the day to invest in the right people and to help this real estate mission statement go out as far as it can.
I think that's what's exciting is you don't know who your friends know, and I've just been blessed as well with some great leaders in my organization. I don't know, I personally only sponsor 5 or 6 or 7 maybe people in Canada, but I have over 600 people in that country now. I called the very first person, Pierre, in Canada, that came over as small independent brokerage of like 13 agents. We only had 350 agents, EXP agents in the entire country of Canada then.
Wow.
And it's, they've really exploded and changing a lot of people's lives. And he's 5x his net income. And he used to work 80 hours a week, now works 35 hours a week, and has a life over and above business. And that's what it's really exciting, is changing people's lives like that. And by me reaching out to Pierre and him being, open enough to even take a look, because he had his best year he ever had.
Oh, wow.
The year that I call him. And he sold like 125 homes. His team sold about 125. So together, like 250. But he was open just to learn. And, 2 months later, he actually, partnered with us.
Wow.
But the people that he's reached out to are people that reached out to him because, of him making a change. They've, have some of the top number 1 and 2, Remax person in Quebec and the number 1 or 2 person in Ottawa, and they're just blowing things up. So it's exciting to see how one phone call to help one of your friends turns into a whole, city or different area or country in your aspect can change people's lives.
It's a statement, it's just doing, and again, it's done through authenticity. Again, with anything, you get good real estate agents, you get bad real estate agents, you get, how do we put this diplomatically, reputable real estate agents, you get the ones who are the reason we have the reputation as an industry we have. But when you do something, again, I think the biggest piece of advice that I never got, but I figured out myself, is we cannot make the answer for someone if we don't ask them the question. I think as people, it's easier to make a preconceived outcome for somebody without ever asking them, because it's easier. Then we won't feel like we've been shut down or declined or said no to, because we've already done that ourselves. So just by you genuinely wanting to help, like you're saying, Pierre, a friend, I mean, look at the difference that has had for the whole industry and the whole country in Canada. And when sometimes I've been very guilty of this. I wish, and I know everybody says focus on the process, not the outcome. I'm working on that. I'm still working on that, because the outcome anyway.
Right.
But by doing that, by seeing the results from that, the impact, a message to a friend. And again, because we do overcomplicate things, when we simplify it, I mean, that's just amazing, isn't it? And look at the lives that it's impacted. You're saying working from X amount of hours down to 35. He has a life now, and he may not have had that if you never just picked up the phone or sent a message. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's what's gets me up every morning and kind of can't sleep at night is the amount of people that we're able to help. Because as real estate agents ourselves, as a solo agent and an independent broker, you're on that treadmill, right? You're, the biggest goal. I remember my first goal was to be able to earn $100,000 in income, my first years of real estate, and it took a little while to get there, right? You hit that, and then you want to go to the next step and build a team, et cetera. But at the end of the year, December 31st, even if you hit, 100 sales or 200,000 in income or whatever it is, it starts all over again. And, January 1, you're back on that treadmill trying to get to the next level. And normally your hours, you just work more and more until you do put systems in place and have a team and that kind of thing. But even as an independent broker owner, especially with COVID and the expenses and so forth, and the liability, I just know in my heart now, because of being at the company now for 4.5 years and being immersed in everything, it's just a better way. As an independent broker, you don't have the liability, you don't have the exposure. You're not the person that has to make all the decisions to help your agents with all the training and everything in between. You have all your business partners within the company, and all the 1,000+ employees, and everybody truly wants to see you win, right? And that's not the case, individually. You're all kind of working for yourself for your own family, and you don't have you have some support for sure, but you normally can't call or email, text somebody at 10 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock on Sunday morning, and they're going to be happy to help you. And that's just a whole different world over here.
Well, it is. And then don't you feel with that, because you can speak from your experience, your life experience and business experience, that you have that responsibility to share your story, your journey and your experience with others as well. And that's kind of how this thing gets to the level it does.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you had the cure for cancer, would you share it with all the people that you knew? At least all the friends that that have cancer? Of course you would. And then of course, if you're, a human being that wants to help others, you're going to get it out to everyone. And that's kind of how I really feel, because as a real estate agent, you're on that transactional treadmill, and sure, we can invest, et cetera, and we should, to be able to slow down someday. But with a dozen different ways of earning income at EXP over and above just your sales, with the the revenue share, the stocks, the health insurance is a big deal for a lot of people, and everything else. You're literally able to set up like a retirement plan that people just, as an agent, I never would have had before.
No. Well, no, listen, and I say I'm an old man with a young family. I think it's all relative, but I just turned 39. But we do have 2 young kids, and we're saving literally, and we didn't have the best with, I believe it's Blue Cross Blue Shield, one of the national insurance institutions, $1,400 a month, and now it's $407.50 that I pay every single month. Same providers, same all of that stuff. Now, I'm not a fan of the health insurance industry, but I mean, that's a lot of money just for paying $85 a month to have my license with EXP, which is remarkable. And I do have a question for you, because I'm fascinated. You asked me, I want to return the compliment and favor. You talk about like long-term, not even long, but mid-range plans, 2, 5. 5 is a great experience. 5 years. What is your main focus and goal from now 5 years on?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, to be honest with you, I mean, we're just a little over 1,000 people now. Took us 4.5 years to get to this point. It was growing at a really, really fast speed in the beginning because of the market and things slowing down a little bit, and it has slowed off some. But my long-term goal, 5 years, there's no reason that we're not going to be at least, 5,000 agents would be very, very realistic. I think we may get there a lot sooner. My goal originally was to get to 500 agents, partners, in my first 5 years.
Wow!
And
congrats.
we did that in about 2.5 years. So I like to be realistic in goals, and then have a stretch goal as well. But there's no reason why we won't be there, within 5 years, and probably sooner, because the market's gonna, I've been through 3 or 4 different corrections over 32 years, and the good agents thrive.
Oh yeah.
A lot of the agents that just don't put the time, the effort, and energy, or it's, more part-time, whatever, get out of the business when the market's tough. But the 20% of us, the old saying goes, 20% do 80% of the business. We just work harder if we have to when the market changes. And at the end of the year, my goals were always met. And again, it's that consistency,
Yeah.
I never went to college personally, but I paid for both my boys with the revenue share through
Wow.
XP, been able to
Congrats.
pay for both their college. But I always tell people, no one will outwork me. If I tell you, Barry, that it's could be 10 in the morning, and I tell you, hey, I'm going to get something done for you before the end of the day, and the whole day went to heck, and it was 11 o'clock, and I still didn't get that done. I'll stay up till 2 in the morning if I have to, because my word is everything. And if I tell you I'm going to do something, it gets done, unless there's something out of your control that you can't control, like EXP Con. I've never missed one except last year. I was literally homeless during EXP Con because the hurricane that came through Florida here 2 weeks after we moved here. So that's the only one that I missed. But my wife, God bless her, told me, you go ahead, you go.
Wow.
People are waiting for you. But we're putting everything we own into storage and trying to find another property to rent. And family comes first, right? So we took care of that, but everything's worked out well. And what is cool with the 6 weeks of that transition of the hurricane, trying to find a new place, I didn't really do it. It didn't work for 6 weeks. I was trying to take care of the family and figure things out. And a couple of things that were pretty amazing was you're stressed out about a lot of different things when you're going through something like that, but I didn't have to stress at all about income because of this organization. Wow. And how the revenue share was able to take care of everything that we would need. And the other thing that says a lot about this company, even though I didn't ask for it, because the company, EXP knows what's going on, and they really truly care about all their business partners and their owners, us agents. I got a $1,000. It wasn't a check in the mail, but it was deposited to my account from EXP, from Extended Hand, because they heard that I got displaced and had a lot of challenges and probably didn't work for a little bit. That they gave me $1,000 to help ease the pain of who does that without asking for it, right? And I know they've done the same thing with all other crazy things going on around the world, with the fires in Hawaii, et cetera.
You know what? It is amazing. It's something I don't really share with people because I don't think people need to know. But it's very difficult. Someone will listen to your story and listen to my story. It's very difficult to resonate. And it's like, that sounds great for you. And many people at companies don't truly get to know or have access to or time with the leadership, AKA the people who own. And now I know over 70% of agents technically own EXP from a publicly traded standpoint. But one thing that I'm forever thankful for, because I didn't plan on growing this company international. When we were in the UK, pre-launching in the UK, we had a roadshow, which is what the guys over there call them now. And I remember I was there with Adam, there with Olivia, who, God bless her, just had her first child, and she's still with EXP, but she was the first ever admin, I guess, globally with EXP UK. And then the CEO at the time, Jason. We were traveling in Adam's Audi from the top of the country to London. Again, there's one car and four of us. There's only so much space, and we're staying at the same hotels. And I'm so thankful. And your story just is amazing and resonates because it's the validation that I wasn't even looking for then, but I got it. When you're in such close proximity for 600 miles on the road over 5 days and stuff, you truly get to learn because there is no hiding. Social media is amazing for everybody's highlight reel, but there's that buffer that you can stop people. But when you're with the true leadership and ownership of a company, now $1 billion+ company with the same owners, same leadership, and you just get to learn about them and the true ethos and culture of a company, AKA the core values of my old EXP mug. I know that not many people get to do that around the world, and as we grow, it's not going to be the case. But the one thing I will always say is the owner of the last company I was with, when I told him I was going to EXP, he was one of the early agents, luxury agent with EXP when they launched, like a long time ago. And some of the accusations he was making and saying, oh, the board, this, that, and the other. But when you personally spend time with these people, I don't know, I can't share those experiences with others. But if anyone ever asks me, well, is EXP sustainable? You know, I'm like, from experience, never say never, of course. But I just can't see knowing these people on a personal and professional level, spending time with all, you know, the decision makers at leadership, the company could be in better hands. And that just makes me really excited. And then you now in modern times, I mean, this was only like 4 years ago, sounding like a dinosaur, but you then sharing that personal story of you without having to ask, going through this natural disaster that you can't control. You know, I mean, that just warms my heart. And without getting all like fluffy, it's just amazing. And we talk about culture. Everybody talks, everybody's company has the best culture. But from your experience right there and from mine in person, I would bet money if we were in Vegas that may not be the case, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't said it better myself. Yeah, Glenn Sanford and Jason Gessing and everyone at the leadership level. I mean, these are the smartest people that I've ever known, the most humble people that I've ever known. I was talking to a big KW agent, and it was Christmas. It was a couple of days, I think, before Christmas or right after, right in that time frame. And I wanted to introduce my KW agent to Glenn Sanford. And I don't know Glenn that well. I mean, I've seen him at conferences a few times and so forth. But I just reached out to him on Workplace, told him a little bit about my friend, said, I don't know if you're traveling during the holidays, but I'd love to, between now and the first of the year, be able to connect you guys on a Zoom. Is that possible? And the next morning, Glenn texted me back on Workplace saying, yeah, I can do today at 11 or tomorrow at 11.
Wow.
And I couldn't even get my friend on the call that day at 11. So we did it the next day, and he talked to me like, I think it was 30, 40 minutes. All I had to do is just ask, you know, who can ask the owner of the company to jump on a 20-minute Zoom, and he's able to accommodate that. I mean, that just doesn't normally happen in an everyday company, but it's like happens all the time here. So it is pretty amazing, and excited to be plugged in. But
well, you're right. And just to add, last thing as well, for people who are curious to learn more about Glenn, you know, I don't have the biggest YouTube channel in the world, but type in my name on YouTube, watch the interview. Okay. Glenn and I did a chat about everything international, his vision, his story, and kind of where we're going. It's only 20 minutes, so just throwing it out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be happy to plug that in and look myself. So appreciate you giving us that tip. Well, I really appreciate your time today, Barry. I'm really excited to get to know you better. We'll definitely see you in Vegas. My last question I always ask people, if you have a favorite book or movie that you recommend, what would that be?
Right now, because I just finished it on Audible. Well, I have two books. One of the book I'm reading right now is Start With Why by Simon Sinek. But more appropriate, I would say, is Tim Ferriss' Tribe of Mentors on Audible. I feel the thing that's lacking in this industry sometimes is having that mentor. And what he's done as a very successful entrepreneur, he came up with a list of 13 questions from, you know, if you could have a billboard anywhere in the world, what would it be? What was your best purchase of $100 or less? And he's asking some of the most successful entrepreneurs and business owners from outside of real estate, because I get all my advice from outside. And it's about a 13-hour listen, so it's probably like a proper book. But Tribe of Mentors by Tim Ferriss, highly, highly recommended.
Awesome. We'll take a note of that for sure. We'll check that out. Well, I appreciate you, Barry. You have an awesome day. Thanks for joining us on the Financial Freedom Forever podcast, and we'll see you in Vegas.
You too, my friend. Keep up the good work. I'm a big fan. I'll see you there.
Thank you, Barry. Listen to what our business partners are saying about our FFF group.
Being a part of our 3Fs group with my luxury brand, to be able to go out there and know that we have such like-minded, amazing, dedicated, hardworking, and passionate people, that knowledge and that ability to be able to reach out and someone to answer within minutes of me having any questions that I might have has been just unbelievably amazing. And I'm so happy to be a part of this group.
What I love most about the Financial Freedom Forever group is the culture of helping and the amount of resources that are available out there for agents who want to grow their business. You can access 4 or 5 different training sessions per week is awesome.
I believe if you surround yourself with like-minded people that are doing 10, 15, 20 times more than me and you put together, we all bring each other up and bring our businesses to the next level and our lives. To learn more about how to partner with us, go to partnerwithandre.com or click the link below and let's have a conversation.